My guest at this time is Brigitte Gabriel. She is the founder of Act for America, the largest grassroots national security organization in the country. She is also the author of numerous books, including the brand new Rise, in Defense of Judeo-Christian Values and Freedom. We'll have a full discussion about the book soon, but today we want to get Brigitte's thoughts about the Trump administration closing down the Washington office of the Palestine Liberation Organization and slashing millions in foreign aid to the Palestinians as well. We'll also discuss Tuesday's anniversary of the horrific 9/11 attacks. And Brigitte, thanks so much for being with us.
Delighted to be back with you.
So let's dive right in here to what the Trump administration is doing policy-wise with the Palestinians. This is from Politico. The Trump administration announced Monday that it will shutter the Washington office of the Palestine Liberation Organization, the latest step in what U.S. officials call a pressure campaign to bring the Palestinians to the negotiating table for Middle East peace talks led by President Donald Trump's son-in-law and advisor Jared Kushner. Kushner and other Trump officials are expected to unveil a proposal for a Middle East peace agreement soon, but the move is likely to increase short-term tensions between Washington and the Palestinians. And then in terms of the funding, the president is looking to cut $25 million in aid for Palestinians that is directed towards East Jerusalem hospitals, but it might be directed elsewhere, given concern about whether that money is actually being spent the way it's supposed to be. So, Brigitte, we have talked about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict many different times in our conversations. What do you make of these two moves from the Trump administration?
I think they are wonderful. Look, we allowed the PLO to open up an office in Washington, D.C. after the signing of the Oslo Accord with Israel because we were moving forward in helping both Israel and the Palestinians achieve lasting peace. We have tried, the Israelis came forward with many proposals trying to basically fulfill the objective of having peace with the Palestinians. The PLO turned it down over and over again, regardless of how much the Israelis gave. So right now, since the signing of the Oslo Accord since 1993 until today, the Palestinians are no more closer to having peace, a legitimate peace with Israel, than they were back on that day. So, the purpose for the office in Washington, D.C. was basically to facilitate the negotiations, and there is no reason, if the Palestinians are not moving forward in good faith in showing that they do want to exist side by side with Israel as a Jewish state, there is no reason to have their office up there. And I'm very glad that we have finally President Trump who's taking action without caring what they would think, if they're going to be offended, because frankly we have been backward and forward trying to accommodate the Palestinians and working with them. As for the aid, I'm sure many patriotic Americans who care about safety and security understand that our tax dollars are basically going not to support the Palestinians in really humanitarian causes, but actually once our money gets to the Palestinian authority, the money is used to basically fund terrorism against Israel, and none of us want to be participating in terrorist attacks by default by basically sending our tax dollars to the Palestinian Authority.
We're talking with Brigitte Gabriel, the founder of Act for America. Her book is Rise. Brigitte, a couple quick follow-ups here. You mentioned that, and so did Politico, that the move was designed to bring the Palestinians back into more of a mindset to actually undergo serious negotiations. Do you expect that it will actually do that?
I am not sure, but at least the Palestinians at this time know that they have a very serious president at the White House who doesn't play around, doesn't mince words, and doesn't beat around the bush. What he says, he will follow up and do. He will follow on his promises. And he is somebody, they understand he is on the side of Israel. I mean, he has made it very clear. We're going to have peace between the Palestinians and Israel under his administration. And he has included his son-in-law in order to be able to do that. So they know they're not going to be able to push and play games the way they would have succeeded in playing games with President Obama, for example, whom we know had very close relationships with Hamas, had sent a delegation. Even before he was elected, he sent Robert Malley to meet with Hamas in Gaza before he even elected president, trying to get the Palestinians on his side. Actually, under President Obama, the Palestinians had phone banks from Gaza calling Muslims in the United States to vote for President Obama because they felt he will be more sympathetic to the Palestinian cause. That all is gone. They have a new player in the White House, and they will have, I hope they will have enough intellect to sit down and say, we better shape up and we better come forward with something, because otherwise this is going to linger, and President Trump is not going to listen to us whining about shutting down our office in D.C. or cutting off $25 million.
Brigitte, who speaks for the Palestinians? We've got one government there in the West Bank, if you want to call it a government. That's led by Mahmoud Abbas. And then, of course, Hamas runs Gaza. So if we actually can facilitate a deal among ourselves and Israel and one of them, most likely the Palestinian Authority, it doesn't necessarily mean the other one's going to play ball. So who speaks for the Palestinians, and is there even really a chance for peace here?
Exactly, Greg. You hit the nail on the head, and that is the problem, because you've got the Palestinian Authority under Mahmoud Abbas, and then you've got the Hamas in Gaza. Hamas doesn't even they don't respect Abbas. They do not listen to anything that he says. They think he is basically a sellout for the powers to be in the West. Abbas is trying to assert his leadership, but look, Hamas is more respected by the Palestinian than Abbas himself, and that includes even the moderate factions of the so-called moderate factions of the Palestinians, because Hamas got exactly what they wanted for the Palestinians by exercising violence, by exercising attacks, than Abbas did with his, pouring honey for the bees to come. That is the problem. There is no serious person speaking or representing the Palestinian people in general. And this is why it is going to be very hard to move forward with a peace treaty or with some type of a peace agreement until the Palestinians agree among themselves in choosing one person to represent both factions of the Palestinians for the goodness and the well-being, for the long-term well-being of the Palestinian people.
Brigitte, just a couple minutes left in our conversation here. And as we record this, it's September 10th. 2018, which means that Tuesday, which was the same day of the week it was in 2001, is the 17th anniversary of the 9/11 terrorist attacks in New York and Arlington, Virginia, and ultimately the plane that crashed in Pennsylvania as well. I'm acutely aware, as I have interns each year, of how quickly memories fade. It seems like yesterday to you and me, but to people who are definitely adults now and even later, it's either a distant memory or not one at all. So what do you encourage folks to consider as we mark this solemn anniversary?
I encourage the nation to remember what we went through as a nation and how united we were on that day. America was attacked by foreigners who hated us so much that they did not care if they attacked Republicans or Democrats or Libertarians. They attacked everyone on that plane because they attacked us as Americans. We need to remember today, as the nation so split apart between the left and the right, we need to come together and realize that our enemy is dedicated to attacking us, killing us, and destroying us. And we need to come together as one for a better America, for a safer America, and for the longevity of America long term. And this is exactly why I titled my book, Rise, Rise in Defense of Judeo-Christian Values and Freedom, because the values we have, the bedrock of Western civilization, and the freedoms that we have in the United States are bar none of any other country in the world, and we must come together to protect these freedoms.
Brigitte, that'll be the last word for today. Thank you so much, as always, for your time.
Thank you.
Brigitte Gabriel, founder of Act for America, the largest grassroots national security organization in the United States. She's also the author of numerous books, the latest one, brand new, Rise, in Defense of Judeo-Christian Values and Freedom. I'm Greg Columbus, reporting for Radio America.